One of the things I get asked a lot is my pain structural or is it neuroplastic? As in, is it created by my brain? Is it mind-body pain? And it's a really important question to ask. Unfortunately, it's quite a simple one to answer. So there's some really key things we would look for when answering this question. And that is, first of all, are there any structural reasons why it would be there? And we're looking at things like, is there a fracture? Is there an infection? Is there a tumour? These are all structural reasons why you would have chronic persistent pain, and that is pain that's gone on for more than 3 months. If it's less than 3 months, then it could well just be to do with damage and you just need to wait for the healing process to happen. If it's going on for longer than that, then it's chronic persistent pain, and that's when we're looking at sort of more neuroplastic. It's to do more with your mind sending different messages to your body. So if you had these things ruled out, you haven't got a fracture, you haven't got an infection, and you haven't got a tumour, then chances are it's neuroplastic pain. So what happens quite a lot is that people will go and see their doctor and they'll have a scan and then be told this is the reason for your pain, because they'll find some sort of structural abnormality and this is then attributed to the pain. So it's usually things like bulging discs, things like spinal stenosis, things like worn joints and disc degeneration. These are all really common things where people will be given a scan and told this is why you have pain. Unfortunately, this isn't correct. So what they've done from lots of different studies is they've found that pretty much everybody has got something along these lines but doesn't have pain. Pretty much everybody has some sort of wear to their joints or some sort of a bulging disc or spinal stenosis or disc degeneration, but we don't have pain. And this is research that has been done, in the 90s. It's well known, it's well documented, it's well recorded, and it's good research, it's good quality research, but for some reason it's not being taught in medical schools, it's not being taught to health professionals, and it's not being taken on board when people are giving this advice. So unfortunately, a lot of people are told these things are causing them pain when it's just not true. Yeah. And what this does is creates a massive amount of fear, because then it's like, oh my goodness, so that means that if I move, I'm going to cause more damage and I'm going to cause myself more pain. And then you start this whole fear cycle as to what will happen if my pain gets worse. And that affects how you behave, it affects how you think, how you feel, everything. It affects everything. Okay, so the first thing is to rule out any physical causes of the pain, any structural damage. And once you've ruled that out, then you know that there is no structural damage in your body that is causing the pain. And then that in itself can be a huge relief, because then you know, okay, so it's not about that, so therefore it must be about something else. And what it's about is neuroplastic pain. So it's about your brain sending messages to your body that are about danger. It's sending danger messages to your body. So what we can do then, once we know there's no structural reason for it, then we look at other things that could, back up the fact that it's not structural, that it is neuroplastic. So these are things like, is it consistent? If you had structural pain, if you broke your arm, for example, it doesn't move around. The pain doesn't move around from place to place. It doesn't come and go. It doesn't sometimes be there when you do something and sometimes not be there when you do something. Yeah. What you find with neuroplastic pain is that it will vary from day to day. Some days it's there, some days it's not. Sometimes it's there in the morning, but not in the afternoon. Sometimes it goes away for a few days and then it comes back. Yeah. This wouldn't make sense from a structural damage perspective. The other thing is it can vary. So sometimes it will be really bad in the morning when you wake up, or it's really bad at night time when you're in bed. Again, this doesn't make sense from a structural damage perspective. So therefore we're looking at neuroplastic pain. Other inconsistencies would be it moves around the body. So it can start in one place, move to somewhere else. This is really common. You see this a lot. What other inconsistencies? whereby it might be seen in a place that doesn't match up with where the supposed abnormality is. So if you've got a trapped nerve in your neck, for example, that would affect certain parts of your body. That is not going to affect your legs, but people can have these different sensations all over their body that doesn't match that doesn't match the abnormality. It doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. So that they're really good things to look out for. You know, is it sometimes that sometimes you can turn your head without any issues, but not when you're doing certain tasks. You know, so this is looking at triggers. So we're looking at inconsistencies, we're looking at triggers. Is it triggered by certain things? Is it triggered by things that aren't actually harmful, that wouldn't affect structural anomaly, such as temperature, the weather, how damp it is, how tired you are, what you've eaten, how loud it is. You know, these sorts of things, these could all affect neuroplastic pain. They wouldn't affect it if you broke your arm. And that is structural, that is constant, it doesn't change. Yeah, but all these other things could affect neuroplastic pain. So if your pain is affected by things like this, again, it will be mind-body pain. Looking at triggers, so, you know, does it come on when you're doing certain tasks? Does it come on when you're anticipating doing certain tasks? Does it come on certain days of the week? So quite often you see people, the symptoms will get worse like on a Sunday night or on a Monday morning, and it's to do with work. And the symptoms will get less at weekend or over the holidays, again, to do with work. What are the triggers? So doing certain things, sitting on certain chairs, sleeping on certain mattresses, wearing certain clothes, could be certain times of the year. You know, it might be an anniversary of some event, so that can make it worse. Or you have this then conditioned response almost to, well, I know that I always get sick in February, for example. But that might just tie in with when you had losses, you know, when family members died or something like that. Again, it's tying it all together, isn't it? It's been a bit of a detective and doing the detective work. So we're looking at, is there anything structural? Are there any inconsistencies? Are there any triggers? And kind of looking at, if sometimes you're given a diagnosis that doesn't have any structural physiology behind it. So stuff like irritable bowel syndrome, fibromyalgia, migraines, tension headaches, these are all sort of known mind-body things. So although you have been given a diagnosis, it is definitely connected to your nervous system regulation. So if you have any of these things, there's a pretty good chance that your pain is about your mind-body connection. It's about the messages your brain is sending. And I just need to stress this very, very much. This is in no way ever saying that your pain isn't real, that you're making it up, that you're fabricating it, that you're imagining it, or that you're crazy. Yeah, absolutely not. Your pain is 100% real. You know, we know you can't make pain up. It doesn't work like that. What it's saying is it's not created by the mechanisms that you think or thought were creating it. So what that means is, if it's not structural, then you don't need to mend your body. Your body's not broken. Your body is safe. So what we need to do is change the messages that your brain is sending to your body. Change those fear protection messages that it's sending in the form of pain. And it's absolutely possible to do that. You know, our brain is changing all the time, making new connections, losing old connections. So it's just about rewiring, just doing a little bit of rewiring to make your brain feel safe, and then it can stop sending out those pain messages. So I hope that helps. So this is something that you can do yourself. You can see these inconsistencies yourself. You can notice those triggers. Just start to notice what's going on. Start to look outside the physical and start to look at the psychological, start to look at it from more of an emotional perspective, and kind of just get your detective head on and look at it from a different perspective, and you will notice connections, you will notice these things I've talked about, and then that means you can do something about it. Okay, you take care.